morning again. Welcome to the Treasures of Rome with your Roman consul Maria Cristina Saraceno. We are at step 3. We need to look up. You'll find that Romans are very, very talkative. They are to communicate with you and tell you lots, even if they're not there. And so for that, they use the walls. If you don't look intently at the walls, you'll miss out. What can you look for? You can look for the marks of powerful families and Madonnas and dates, laws and regulations, indulgences, Stolpersteinen, I'll show you what those are, mottos, and the marks of the floods. I'll tell you a little story so that you can figure everything else out. Imperial Rome counted more than 1 million people. Historians are starting to say it might have counted even 2 million. The Goths then cut the aqueducts and the water supply to the city. That was a major disaster for Rome. You didn't need to conquer Rome. Nobody ever conquered Rome. But they could raid it, sack it. But they also cut the water supply, which means that Rome died. The population went down to about 20,000 people. It was just a shadow of its former imperial self. But after the 1400s, the popes aspired to bringing Rome to its ancient splendor, and they made the beautiful Rome we know today. So all of the beautiful Renaissance palaces you see, they've all been built since the 1400s onwards. And the popes marked everything they built with their signs of power. Now, very few are the family of nobles and pope that made Rome as we know it. They were the patrons of the art, and they commissioned the best artists of the time, like Michelangelo and Raphael and so on. The popes and these families marked their territory so that everyone could defer to their power. And once you know them, you will start seeing them everywhere. The most famous families that we're going to have a look at are 7 families. We are not going to have a look at them today, but today I just want to start telling you about their signs of power, and I want you to start looking. So when you are in Rome, you're on a treasure hunt to spot these families' coats of arms. They are on palaces, on fountains, on sculptures, on towers, on hospitals and churches, and so on, everywhere. They can be painted or sculpted, embroidered, with every means. They just wanted to be seen and recognized for their power. So a family coat of arms can be either topped with St. Peter's keys to heaven and the papal tiara, which is the symbol of the Pope's temporal power. And this means that a Pope King commissioned the masterpiece you're looking at. Or they can be topped with a cardinal's hat. This means a cardinal or prince of the church, often a future pope, commissioned the work. Or they can just be naked, and that means that a prince, not a cardinal, not a pope, or another nobleman, commissioned the masterpiece. So the symbol of the Pope are these keys to heaven and the papal 3-crowned tiara. This particular symbol is on the Basilica of St. John Lateran, but you will see it all around town. So the 3 crowns on the tiara of the Pope, 1 crown was for his temporal power over the papal states, 1 crown was to symbolize that he was the father and the master of all the kings and princes. And the 3rd one was that to mean that he's the vicar of Christ on earth. So he's got the keys to the heavens. This is a very different symbol. At the top of this symbol, you are going to notice the cardinal hat. In this case, a cardinal commissioned whatever work was here, and Here you will find the actual symbol of the family. This is a rovere tree, so an oak tree, which was the symbol of the Della Rovere family. Then they become popes. There are two major popes of this Della Rovere family, Sixtus IV and Julius II, but we'll come to those another time. This, in the same church, Santa Maria del Popolo, as where I took the picture of the other cardinals' crest, this is the hat of Cardinal Chigi. And if you have a look on the symbol of Cardinal Chigi, you can see the hat of him being cardinal up at the top, and then you can see two symbols, the Rovere, but it's not from the family Rovere, and the symbol of the Chigi family. The reason why he could use the symbol of the Rovere family is that one of his great-great-grand-uncles was the banker to Julius II, the Pope della Rovere, who commissioned Michelangelo and Raphael and lots of other artists with their fantastic work. And he helped the Pope so much that he was then allowed to use the Della Rovere symbol for his own family too. Another family of popes and princes and cardinals is the Barberini family. Their symbol was the bees. You're going to see bees all around Rome. So let's see an example of one of the families who made Rome as we know it, the Barberini, were most active in the early 1600s. There are more than 10,000 bees, which is a family symbol, all around Rome, to remind us the astonishing patronage of the arts and of the power of the Barberini. You are going to find them everywhere. This one is in their own palace. It's a fresco on the ceilings of the ballroom in their own palace by Pietro da Cortona. It's majestic, plenty of symbolism in this fresco, but you can see the three Barberini bees. And up at the top, you can see the keys to heaven and the papal three-crown tiara, meaning this was commissioned by the Barberini Pope, Urban VIII. This is right in front of the palace. It's Bernini's Fountain of the Bees. And so this guy is having a drink from a bee. This one's still in front of the palace, and it shows, it's a detail from Bernini's Fountain of the Triton. And what should you see if not the keys to heaven and the tiara and the three bees of the Barberini? This is a symbol you can see up at the top. There's a cardinal hat of the Barberini family. And this is a capital from the Barberini family. And what has it got but a bee? Here we are around the ancient Roman walls that were built around 275 by Aurelian. They're called the Aurelian walls. They run around the center of the city, which at the time was the whole city. And they have been restored by a pope, because you can see the keys to heaven and the tiara of the pope, who had as his symbol three bees. Again, Urbano VIII of the Barberini family. And this is one of my kids, Celeste, having a drink at La Barcaccia, the ugly boat, down at the bottom of the Spanish Steps. And who should you find there if not the papal tiara, the cross, the keys to heaven, and the three Barberini bees. You also find the sun, which was the symbol of this particular Pope, Urban VIII. So you know who commissioned the square, who commissioned the fountain straight away. So look around when you are in Rome. If you see bees, you know that's a Barberini product. Introducing the dove with the olive branch. This is a different logo for a different family. So in our upcoming exercise, we're going to have a look, and we're going to have a look at Piazza Navona. And we are going to find a dove and with an olive branch. Now I want you to know from now that the coat of arms of the Pamphili family, it's the dove with the olive branch. So think of it as the family logo. Whenever you see a dove with an olive branch, don't think so much of world peace, think of the Pamphili family paying for it. And this is what it looks like. You'll see on marble and on plenty of other materials. The 3 lilies are there as well. The lilies were also a symbol of another major family in Rome, the Farnese. They're not lilies at all, in fact, they are irises. And we'll see some Farnese symbols around town in another module. What else can you see? If you look up at the top, when you walk around the streets of Rome, you can see a lot of Madonnas. We call them le Madonnelle. There are hundreds of them in town. There are about 500 that I know of, and there used to be over 1,000. You can spot them at the corner of palaces, of towers, of bell towers. They are almost exclusively Madonnas, but not only. Sometimes there are other saints we are going to see during the course. We're going to see Mary Magdalene, for example. They can be frescoes on canvas, on marble, on terracotta, on mosaic. So different means. And some are real masterpieces by artists like Raphael. They also served as street lights because they would have a candle in ancient times, and then they would have gas light and then now street light. So for example, here it's an incredible mosaic on Campo dei Fiori. This one is at Fontana di Trevi, and you can see the lights in front of them. This one is near Palazzo Farnese, on the Via del Mascherone. This one is near Santa Maria della Pace, in a little passage to the right of the church. This one is near Palazzo Venezia, in Via del Plebiscito, just across from Palazzo Venezia. And you can find them everywhere. Now, in Rome, another thing that is curious is that time and dates are an opinion. Time has been defined in lots of different ways throughout Roman history. It's not like if you go to another city, time has always been counted in before Christ and after Christ. In ancient Rome, the year was defined by the name of the 2 consuls in charge. So if you knew the 2 consuls in charge, you would know which year you were referring to. But also you will find other references. For example, you will find AUC. That means ab urbe condita, which means since the creation of Rome. Rome was created in 753 before Christ. That's the legend of it anyway. Then you will find dates since the birth of Jesus, before Christ and after Christ, Anno Domini. And then you'll find different dates from Mussolini's march on Rome, so the fascist era. For example, here we are at the Capitoline Museums, and this panel refers to both ab urbe condita and Anno Domini. So, if you have a look, it will say Fasti consulares Capitolini post annum ab urbe condita 2390. And have a look up at the top. You find the papal tiara with the crossed keys to heaven and the 3 Bs, meaning that this particular marble piece was carved during the Barberini reign. This marble decoration, which I found at the Trajan markets, actually refers to AD, and it's 1600 AD, 1600, when there was a Jubileum. So it was a sacred year where pilgrims coming from all over the world could go to Rome and get special indulgences. Now, if you get out of the very center and you get to the suburbs, many homes were built during fascism. And if you have a closer look, you can see that it states the year since the birth of Christ. in this case 1929, and then it states the year since the March on Rome, when the fascist movement took power, which is anno 7th, year 7th. So 1929 is year 7 of the fascist era. Let's have a look. What else can we find on the walls? We can find the laws and the regulations. So ignorance was no excuse even at that time, even in the past. And so to even avoid ignorance, the streets are plastered with rules. But if you don't know, you're not looking for them. So for example, this is a marble plaque, and you can have a look at the bottom. It says in 1727, it's forbidden expressly to any person to throw rubbish of any sorts around this place, under the penalty of 10 scudi, to be applied 1/3 to the accuser. So they were actually splitting up the penalty, and part of it was going to the government and part of it was going to the dobber. And the accuser will be kept a secret, and then there will be other corporal punishments. So, and then it says, on the basis of the law from the president of the streets. This one, same. It was about rubbish. It was a major problem in 1700 Rome, and I suspect even before then. And this is another one, 1744, it's dated. But sometimes marble boards have an entirely different meaning. Have a look at these ones. They related to indulgences, plenaries or otherwise, both for the living and for the souls of the dead in purgatory. So pilgrims used to come to Rome, and still come to this day, from all over the world for indulgences. So for example, here we are in front of La Chiesa del Gesù, the Jesuit church. And it's Sant'Ignazio. And if you have a look, it says His Sanctity Pope Pius VI allows all the faithful of both sexes 200 days of indulgency to be applied also to the sacred souls in purgatory every time that devoutly they will recite the prayers of the Virgin Mary in front of this image. Here, down at the bottom, it says a plenary indulgence, daily and perpetual, for the living and for the dead. But up at the top, you will see that there are two inscriptions. One is in Latin, all normal there. One is in Hebrew. Why would it be in Hebrew? And this is the reason why. This is a church called San Gregorio, and it was right next to the ghetto. And San Gregorio was one of the churches where the Jewish community had to attend church on Sundays. So no matter they didn't believe in the Christian, in Jesus, or in the same way in Jesus, they just were forced to attend church every Sunday. Look at your feet, especially in the area around San Gregorio, but also in Monti and in Trastevere. You are and in other areas around Rome, you're going to find these stolperstein. Now they mark either the homes or the offices or its places in some way related to the victims of the Nazi regime. Now here you're not looking up, you're looking on the floor, not under your feet, but just on the floor. So they are a special kind of monument. It's very unobtrusive, but it's the largest such monument all around the world. It's a dispersed monument. It was for victims of Nazi regime that were Jewish, but also gypsies and homosexuals and disabled and communists and members of the resistance, partisans, and members of the church who were going against the diktat of the Nazi regime. Here we are in the Portico di Ottavia, an area that is now absolutely close to the synagogue, the temple we call it, in Rome. And these stones represent two whole families that were completely wiped out in Auschwitz, the Sabatello and the Tagliacozzo family. So they are brass cobblestone, and they tell you about the person. So here lived Celeste Alba Sabatello, born in 1940, arrested on the 16th of the 10th, 1943, which is a terrible date for Rome. Over 1,000 Jewish people who had never been deported under the fascism, because fascism didn't deport anyone to concentration camps. After the armistice, the king and all the authorities left Rome, and Rome fell under German power. The Nazis deported over 1,000 people on that 16th of October 1943. They all went to Auschwitz. Most of them were assassinated. It says here, deported to Auschwitz, assassinated 23rd of the 10th of 1943. In fact, if you go to Milan, and if you are in the station in Milan, you will find that on platform 21 is not a much loved platform, because the trains you left from Rome went to Milan and picked up Jewish families in Milan, and they were all deported to Auschwitz. Even now, on the day of the memory, Giorno della Memoria, there is a museum under platform 21. You can find a lot of such cobblestone. This one was the Schunak family, and it tells you about what happened to every member of this family. There are over 50,000 of these stones that have been laid in more than 18 countries, but it's not a complete memorial, because the families need to pay for these stones. So a lot of victims, especially victims who were gypsies, for example, they've been moving around, and they do not particularly care about this kind of memorials, and they will not be remembered. So there is a bit of controversy about this stolperstein. Now, if you look in front of doorways, they were the homes and the offices of the victims, and each family pays for them, so a lot of victims are not remembered with a stolperstein. And this is still, as I was saying earlier, the world's largest widespread memorial. So your compassion will be blown away by the experience, and you will see that most of these people perished due to the persecution for different reasons. Please do remember, this is not just for Jewish people. This is for all victims of the Nazi regime. But you find a lot that are remembering Jewish Romans in the Portico di Ottavia, in Via della Reginella, in Monti, which is an area, and in Trastevere, which is another area. What else can you find? You can find mottos in Latin on Roman homes. And one of my favorites is Nil difficile volenti, which means nothing is difficult for those who really want it, which is basically an old world can-do attitude. Mottos are very popular on post-1870 apartment buildings. 1870 is when Rome was conquered and unified to the rest of Italy. And then, until the high banks of the Tiber were built, post-1870, the river often flooded destroying everything on its path. So when you see horizontal lines marked on walls, you have to take a second look, because they might very well be marks of the levels the water got to during the floods. So for example, here we are in Piazza della Rotonda. That is the piazza right in front of the Pantheon. And you can see here it says alluvione, so floods, of December 1870. So if you look at a bigger picture, you can see this is a person, you can see where the flood level got to. So you could use boats all around town, and everything on the ground floor was destroyed. And this used to happen recurrently. Imagine the hardship. So to remember all of these floods, if you go in front of what is now the Arapacis didn't used to be where it is now, it's been moved, or next to the mausoleum of Augustus, there's a church of San Rocco, and right on the side of San Rocco, if you're looking at the church on the right side, you will find this hydrometer. It marks the worst floods over the centuries. For example, at near 17 meters in December 1495, right above the 17 meters in November 1660, and then in December 1870 you can see you were just above 17 meters. It was placed here in 1821, the hydrometer, and goes 20 meters up, and you can see the 20-meter mark, and in December 1529 it got that high. So to recap, what do you have to do to look for on the walls of Rome so that you can enjoy the city better? You can see the signs of the powerful families, the Madonnas, the dates, laws, indulgences, stolperstein, mottos, and flood levels. So lots of details that might otherwise escape your attention. So far we have learned that looking at eye level is not enough in Rome. You can look from above, you need to look under, and you can look up. So in the next module, we are going to practice your new skills, and we're going to apply them to Piazza Navona. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, arrivederci from your Roman consul, Maria Cristina Saraceno. Ciao ciao!